Police in Tesano are holding in their custody a shooter at a mechanic workshop at Alajo here in Accra. The suspect who shot his victim after a verbal altercation following misunderstanding over where he had parked his car proceeded with a warning shot before landing multiple shots in the thorax of the victim. Latif Idris was there for Joy News.
So it is chaos here at Alajo, specifically Al Hayat. About 4 o'clock p.m. this evening, we had reports of gunshots here. Now, what we've gathered on the ground is that there was misunderstanding between two individuals. One, a worker of this workplace, and an individual who had come in to pay a visit. Now, you can see the vehicle in the background, which had been smashed. We told the person who triggered the gun was actually in this saloon car.
The police responded to an emergency situation in respect of an alleged shooting incident, and the police came in timeously, was able to apprehend the suspect, and also assisted in taking the victim to the Rich Hospital for medical assistance and treatment. So as we're talking to you, the crime scene management team are here. They've done what they need to do. And at the appropriate time, you will be briefed again as to the development of the case. We thank you for your cooperation. The police is in to protect and safeguard communities. So as we come in here, our main duty is to safeguard life and property, and also to do crowd control, which we've done perfectly. So we thank you and thank all people who assisted the police.
Mr. Fori, I've seen you've just gotten two individuals into the pickup. They have been transported to the police station. What exactly are the roles of these individuals in this?
Investigation will lead to that.
So why have you picked them up?
We wanted to unravel issues pertaining to the incident, that is all.
Do they have information to help with investigations?
Investigation may reveal that.
Do we know the status of this guy who was shot?
That will be done by medical experts.
We are also hearing that this guy who pulled the trigger had a national security ID in his vehicle. Can you confirm that?
No investigation has been done yet.
I was here before the thing happened. Here is Alajo workshop, normally called Alahad. So we work on a certain 207 car. It was going out and this one was coming in. So our road is not deep. So the small car, saloon car should park well so that the 207 should come out before the saloon will come in. She said she can't come out, she can't go back so that the 207 should come out. So this misunderstanding before he removed the gun, warning shoot first, the second one inside the guy's stomach before we rush the guy to the Rich Hospital. That's what happened. The guy, we saw something like a national security card inside his car or inside the car. So an MPP organizer something on the car. But I don't know the person who took that paper. That's what happened here.
But I've also seen that you've smashed the car.
Oh, yeah, exactly. The car actually is inside the car, and she wants to run away with the car. A car can run more than a human being. So he wants to run, so we use the other car to cross, like he ran away. So that's why people carry stone to stop the car.
We want to beat the person, but we couldn't because plenty people did there. So they don't allow us to beat them. That's why we smashed the car.
So where is this man who shot the guy?
He shot him for at least like 10 years, 10 meters here.
Where is he?
But I know the guy, they sent him to hospital.
I mean the guy who shot?
The person who shot, the police take him to police station.
And we hope to bring you more on this particular incident at Alajo and how the man who was shot is faring. But moving on, the Ashanti Region Security Council has warned illegal miners threatening a standoff with the Police Military Anti-Galamsey Task Force that they do so at their own risk. The warning was issued after an emergency meeting to deliberate over some recent fallouts from the operations of the task force in the region, including the killing of a man said to be engaged in illegal mining. Speaking to Lava Firm's Erastus Asaradonko after the meeting, the Ashanti Regional Minister says it will be in the interest of the illegal miners to cooperate with Operation Vanguard Task Force, as any attempt to resist their work could be chaotic. Mr. Simon said Men's Affairs speaks about the briefing they've received on the man killed at Anyumedu near Obuasi.
The briefing we've had is that while the task force was on patrol, they saw some people were engaged in Galamsey activities. When they saw them, they started running away, and the task force people were also going after them. Then people started throwing stones at the task force, and according to them, they heard gunshots also ahead of them, and they also started firing warning shots. When they moved some few meters, they saw somebody who had been shot, but the person had not passed away then, so they tried giving him first aid to revive him. They gave the first aid, but before they could reach the Anglo-Gold Ashanti hospital, the man had passed away. What I would say here is that people should be calm. We are investigating whether it's true that some people also give some shots, and whether it was those shots or those shootings they had that killed the man, or it was the warning shots from the task force that killed the man. We are investigating this one. Meanwhile, we wish to express our condolences with the bereaved family and assure all people within the Ashanti region that the place is safe. There's no cause for alarm, and people should go on with their normal duties without fear. They will protect them, and they have all our protection, and nothing will happen. Again, I'm begging all those who are engaging in Galamsey that there's still a ban on illegal activities, a ban on small-scale mining, ban on Galamsey activities, all forms of illegal activities. There's a ban on them. Apart in the Ashanti region, for now, there are only 3 companies that are permitted to work, and these are 3 large-scale companies. We have Owerri Mines at Konongo, we have Anglo-Gold Ashanti, Obuasi, and then Asanko Gold at Amansie, Amansie and Crime. These are the only 3 companies that are permitted to operate within the Ashanti region. Those who are doing illegal mining, we beg them, they should stop. Because, you know, there have been serious calamities that have befallen them. But because this one is gunshot, that is why the interest is high now. There were people who went mining, and then the pit collapsed. Some places about 14 people, we have 17 people. Even the recent one at Petrensa, I know 4 people were brought out. I don't know whether they could bring out the remaining people. So even without this gunshot, several of them have been dying through collapsed pit. And it's better, and it's their own interest to stop. We should wait until the government comes out with a final strategy that will ensure a healthy mining process within Ghana.
We've been briefed today by the task force. After the briefing, is RESEC taking any decision on how the operation should go?
No, you know, they have the briefing already. We only re-emphasize how it should go. And it's the normal operations. The only thing is that we've heard another issue, which is quite worrying, that some of the Galamsey people are saying they will resist any effort by the task force. If you do that, then it means you want to engage them. Anything at all can happen. These are people who have been trained in shooting. And if you want to engage them in arms, maybe the consequences could be bad. So they should desist from that. Anybody who has such plans should abandon those plans and make sure that the 6-month period elapses, and then the government comes out with the final strategies, and those who are so interested in going into mining can go into the mining.
So any decisions taken today by RESEC concerning how the task force should operate within Ashanti region, any guidelines?
No, the guidelines, they have them already. They are to ensure that they protect areas where the illegal mining are going on. They have to stop people from engaging in illegal mining. They have to stop people from engaging in small-scale mining. These are the areas that they have to do. And again, they are not supposed to shoot. However, you know, if somebody is under threat and you are shooting, definitely, as the services code provides, they will have to defend themselves. And at times, they may need to use minimum force. to ensure that their life is not at risk. For those ones, definitely you cannot stop them from doing, but maybe indiscriminate shooting or wanton shooting when there's no risk at all. That is what we have asked them to desist from.
Elsewhere, management of Extra Gold Mining Company Limited at Kwabeng in the Eastern region has vowed to take action against government for raiding and setting ablaze mining equipment on its concession Monday. According to the firm, the Operation Vanguard team deployed by government to flush out illegal miners overstepped its bounds by destroying 6 excavators and other mining equipment. Director of Mining at the company, Victor Nkansa, told journalists a day after the Anti-Galamsey Task Force raided some mining sites in the Tiwat district of the Eastern region. Correspondent Kofi Sian joins me via telephone with more on this. Hello, Kofi. What more are you able to tell us about the actions the company intends to take against government?
Well, so Israel, the director of mining at the company, Victor Nkansa, says the decision by the task force to raid their premises, that is their concession in Kwabeng and Banso, is unlawful. So they are going to take legal action against the task force. And furthermore, they say that the excavators and other mining equipment banned by the task force was out of place. In fact, the mining company is a large-scale mining which is registered and it is known in the books of government. So they were surprised that the task force would come there and did not ask anybody anything, but decided to set on fire their mining equipment yesterday.
All right, thank you very much, Kofi Sian, bringing us that update there from the Eastern region. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break. We have more stories coming up, especially having to do with mining, plus stories about babies being born with a new IVF procedure. That's good news for people or couples struggling to have babies. We have all that and more coming up in the bulletin. Stay tuned. We're watching Joy News Prime, and we're going to our earlier story having to do with the shooting incident at Alajo here in Accra. One person was shot following some misunderstanding over the parking of a vehicle. Latif Idris is standing by at the Ridge Hospital here in Accra, where we're told that the victim has been is undergoing treatment. Latif joins me on the line. Hello, Latif. What are you able to tell us about the situation of this shooting victim?
Yeah, Israel, fortunately, the guy has survived. But what I've gathered so far is that he's lost some points of blood. And so currently, as we speak, the family is here. The dad is going through the processes to ensure that they get some blood for the doctors here to attend to him urgently. We also know that some of the workers here at the mechanic workshop have also come here in their numbers, or are joining the dad to contribute, if you like, some blood for this young man who, as at now, we do not know his real name and identity, Israel.
All right, but has he given out any word at all, any account of what actually happened? Do we know that?
For now, he's not fully conscious, if you like. So even the doctors wouldn't allow people to get closer to him. Even the dad, we told, has not seen the young man personally. All the dad knows is that he is stable and that he needs some pints of blood. So he's going through the processes to ensure that that is done to, bring his son back, Israel.
All right, thank you very much, Latif Idris, with that update. So we know that the victim of the shooting incident at Alajo is at the Ridge Hospital and he is undergoing treatment. We're told that his condition is presently stable. In other news, operators of the Shanzi mining company at Mane in the Talensi district of the Upper East region are calling for the deployment of a Galamsey task force to the area to help check the activities of notorious illegal miners there. The company has accused some of the illegal miners of kidnapping its workers and subjecting them to severe beatings. The incident, according to officials, occurred in the early hours of Sunday when the security personnel were conducting routine checks underground and found some of the illegal miners working there. Correspondent Abesore has more.
In May this year, government directed the Shanji Mining Company a Chinese mine support service firm working for 2 licensed small-scale miners at Bani, to suspend their operations to allow some investigations into the death of some locals. Operators of the Shanxi Mining Company then suspended their operations in compliance with the directive. Last Sunday, security personnel of the company, while doing routine checks underground, arrested 3 of the illegal miners who, according to them, attempted to steal. While making efforts to hand over the alleged illegal miners to the police, the rest of the Shanxi mining workers remained underground. They were later outnumbered by some other illegal miners who kidnapped and took them to another location, subjected them to severe beatings, and later released them. Some of the victims of the attack spoke to Joy News.
As part of my duty, when I went down, I inspected all the other places that were welded the previous day. So we realized that most of the places that we welded were broken by the Galamseyers. More than 3 places were broken that day. So after I went around to inspect those places and I was coming back, then we realized that the Galamseyers were coming from the lower levels to the level that I was working, that was incline, which was the higher level. So when we saw them, then we were waiting for them to come so that we would talk to them. After they came up, then one person came up, we were able to get in so that the security men took them up. Then from that one, because of the reaction of other people, the remaining one came and they started attacking.
The Galamsey boys, some ran out and have to organize their boys inside again. So before we realized, there were like 50 people inside. There were many, and that night we can't count them, but there were many. And they have to beat us.
We went in to check whether our workers are close or not. So we went in then, we found out the Galamsey boys, a lot of Galamsey boys were stealing in the hole. So we wanted to arrest them out, and some ran into the hole. So we had 3 of them. Then we were 6 in number, the security guards. So we asked 3 to send the ones who caught out, then remaining 3 to protect the others from coming out before our guards will come back. So as we're in the hole, they passed through a different place. They went out and organized their people. So we were there waiting for our guards to come back. All of a sudden, they surrounded us. They started beating us.
Human Resource Manager for Shanxi Mining, Joseph Anochi, says unless a task force is deployed to the area to clamp down on the activities of the illegal miners, worse things could happen.
The Galamsey operation in this country is not only even limited to stealing resources belonging to the country. These are some of the things that they can do. They can also kill. They can injure, they can harm, they can kill. So that's why we are thinking that the nation must support any action from government that will seem to bring this Galamsey menace in the country to an end.
3 of the illegal miners who were arrested by the mining company security personnel have been handed over to the police for investigations into the matter to commence. For Joy News, Albert Sorry, Bani.
In another development, the Kumasi Diocese of the Methodist Church is asking government and its agencies to closely monitor activities of the Anti-Galamsey Task Force to prevent excesses. It follows the killing of a resident of Anyumedu Krum near Obuasi in an apparent clash between the Operation Vanguard troops and illegal miners. Leadership of the diocese says though it appreciates government's efforts to sustain the fight against illegal mining, Operation Vanguard need not result in death. Diocesan Bishop Right Reverend Christopher Nyaku Andam addressed the media in Kumasi.
However, calling on the appropriate ministries to properly monitor the 400 military and police task force sent out to guard the various Galamsey sites to ensure that they will stay within their assigned mandate to achieving the needed objective for the country. Their operation should be a casualty-free program. We have already recorded 1 death out of gunshots around Obuasi, and we pray that such unfortunate incidents will not be repeated. We also call on government for the continuous engagement with the Small-Scale Miners Association for proper regulations of their activities.
Well, the bishops are asking government to hold on with implementation of the toll levy to allow for broader public consultation.
As a major stakeholder, the move by the government to curtail these incidences is in the right direction. We want to take this opportunity to advise the government, however, to slow down or hold on with the implementation of the policy and embark on a nationwide dialogue with the various stakeholders for a wider consultation. The diocese believes that majority of the citizenry have not properly understood the proposed approach to the implementation of the policy. We therefore humbly plead with the Parliament and stakeholders to avoid presenting a policy that will seemingly be seen as an imposition on the citizenry against the will of the people.
Now, President Nana Akufo-Addo has stressed that the laws of Ghana indicate that citizens and not foreigners are the only ones allowed to engage in small-scale mining. President Akufo-Addo has therefore urged Ghanaians not to act as frontmen for foreigners in activities solely reserved for Ghanaians, asking them to abide by the law. To this end, President Akufo-Addo has outlined his government's proposal to strengthening the small-scale mining industry through the Multilateral Integrated Mining Project. The MMIP, according to the President, will be the first holistic approach in combating illegal mining in Ghana, reduce illegal small-scale mining, or galamsey, to the barest minimum, and find alternative livelihoods for those involved. President Akufo-Addo made this known on Tuesday, August 8, on day 2 of his 3-day tour of the Western region, where he interacted with the chiefs and people of Takwa. With Takwa being a predominantly mining town, President Akufo-Addo urged residents to ignore the propaganda making the rounds that he intends to abolish mining, stressing that the only form of mining he is against is illegal mining, also known as galamsey. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break. We'll bring you business news next. But still ahead in the bulletin, the Education Minister has decried the poor quality of education, especially at the basic level, and ordered a re-registration of NGOs and CSOs in the sector as he questions their contribution.
Re-register with the support of GNEC. Ours is not to cut out them, but is to make their work relevant to the agenda of the country. If it is not, we don't need you.
Stay tuned. Business News is next.
Hello, welcome to Business on Joy News Prime. Now, economic think tank Institute of Fiscal Studies is warning that cuts in government's expenditure would also affect creation of jobs in the private sector. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta in the mid-year budget review announced a 2.2 billion cedi cut in the expenditure to 56 billion cedis for this year. Managers of the economy have already indicated they cannot employ fresh graduates into the public sector because of the IMF program. But the executive director of the Institute of Fiscal Studies, Professor Newman Kusi, tells Joy Business the cuts would also badly hurt private firms because it's touching on capital spending.
It's not so much about the cuts, but it's about the items for which the expenditure is cut, particularly capital expenditure, and to some extent, goods and services. Goods and services, we're talking about, books, maintenance of vehicles, all those things that facilitate, production and those sort of things. And by capital expenditure, we're talking about projects, ongoing projects, new projects, and even financing of power and energy, those things that actually infrastructure, those things that are actually needed to grow, to support the growth of the economy. If you cut those things, then what are you trying to say? Definitely growth will suffer.
But Prof, they've argued that these cuts are not touching the very, very critical. These are non-essential cuts, and therefore those capital projects will still go on, and they would actually help stimulate growth.
No, but capital, we'll give you a copy of the paper. Look at the amount of capital expenditure that has been cut, and look at the amount of goods and services that has been cut. So you drop capital expenditure budget by almost 600 million, and what are you saying? Okay, if within the capital budget, the cut that has been made will not. What is not would affect? Tell us exactly. Be specific.
A bit also about job creation, because there's been this whole debate about whether this government can employ or not employ within the IMF program and all the rest. But let's come to these cuts that they've announced. Could it also have impact on job creation if it's not even in the public sector?
Of course, yes.
How?
Because by cutting the capital expenditure, most of the capital expenditure budget are payments to private sector activity, private people who are doing government projects. Okay, because government itself hasn't got government construction companies or those things that do undertake some of this infrastructure project. This infrastructure project and all these are contracted to the private sector.
In other news tonight, players in the banking sector have impressed on the central bank the need to address other factors that affect the policy rate in order to drive down the cost of credit. Businesses have lamented the high interest rates despite the downward review of the policy rate. However, some bank managers who have been speaking to Joy Business at the just-ended Ghana Economic Forum in Accra say there is the need for the central bank to do more to drive down the cost of credit. Charles Aite has more in this report.
According to players in the banking sector, the purpose for the downward review of the monetary policy rate will be defeated if challenges associated with the cost of credit are not addressed. Henry Oro is the managing director of Zenith Bank.
I think the challenge is that it is the complaint really in the marketplace that if T-bills, treasury bills is doing say 12%, why would cost of funds be around 24, 25, 26 like we have in the market today? And our answer is very simple, that there's a disconnect between the T-bills rate and the MPC rate. We're having a gap of close to 10-12% between the T-bills rate and the MPC rate, and the market will hover around the higher one. And that's why we see interest rate haven't moved down as much as we expected to move down, because T-bills is doing 12. We expect interest rate to move close to 12. It's not gotten there yet because the MPC rate is around still at about 21. But we have a situation where even the SOEs, they will come and ask for rates above 20% when T-bills is doing 12. It's not adding up. And when banks begin to take deposits at 20%, of course you will lend at a much higher figure and all that. So those are the issues.
Managing Director of Barclays Bank, Patience Achiano, also made her case on the matter.
I can appreciate the challenge that the central bank is facing to manage monetary policy as well as facilitate the growth of our economy. But having said that, with my personal opinion is that with the prime rate still, or the policy rate still at 21%, is still high, because whilst you all are talking about T-bill rates being at 12%, for us as banks, the real opportunity cost is where we can put our money. And to the extent that I can put money at 21%, I think that if we want to get to the levels that as an economy we need to be to see the real growth that we are all hoping for, the monetary policy rate should trend further down.
According to ratings agency Moody's, the reduction in the Bank of Ghana's benchmark interest rate from 22.5% to 21% should boost lending by commercial banks and ultimately the economy.
So you heard bank managers talk about the policy rate, essentially saying that it's still high despite the downward revision, and also calling for other factors to be addressed. Well, this came up at the Public Account Committee sitting, where the Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Johnson Esiama, was made to respond to questions or concerns about the bank's failure to reduce lending rates despite the reduction in the policy rate. Here's his response.
The lending rates, over time will come down. We fully understand why it appears sticky for now. There are issues we are dealing with. Hopefully, once we deal with those issues, you see it fall. When a bank takes your deposits, there are two ways they use it. Either they put it into investments or they put it into loans. That's the way it works. And remember, they have to pay you some interest on your deposit. So there's pressure on them all the time to make enough return to compensate depositors, And so given that interest rates are coming down, they will be forced to do more loans. And if they have to do more loans, you know, there should be some more competition there, and so they can lower rates. We've seen this before. If you cast your mind back, you know, towards the end of 2000, around 2009, thereabout, we saw, you know, a rapid decline. We see that happening again. It's just a matter of time. I think we shouldn't be too apprehensive. We understand fully the interest cost burden on firms, and we are working and working very well in that regard.
So you had the Bank of Ghana saying there that they are working on the policy rates and hope it affects the lending rates as well. Now moving on, the Chief Executive of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Yofi Grant, says harnessing the economic potential of Ghana's youth is key for economic growth. He was addressing the first ever GIPC Youth Entrepreneurs Forum aimed at creating a platform for young entrepreneurs to interact with their mentors from various industries. Sheila Tamaklo reports.
With approximately 57% of the nation's population under age 25, a timely intervention to utilize the potential of the country's youth is key in economic development. The Young Entrepreneurs Forum, organized by the GIPC, accordingly sought to encourage innovation and entrepreneurship among the youth by sensitizing ambitious young entrepreneurs on how to position their business for partnerships. It also aimed at sharing GIPC's strategy regarding the sector, as well as expose young businesses to its acts. In an interview, the CEO of GIPC, Yofi Grant, said, "This is one of many events to support entrepreneurs."
We do our bit in supporting entrepreneurs, and I think this is a great start. We need to make it an annual event, but we are also going to do other things. We're thinking of doing an exhibition for innovation and entrepreneurs in Ghana, and so we'll continue from there. But at least we will highlight the space. We will create the space for them to be exposed. We will push some of them. We want to make them go from where they are to global. The government has clearly said, in this regime, in the short period, we need to create millionaires and billionaires who will be the next investors in the economy. This is how it starts.
As part of the Young Entrepreneurs Forum organized by the GIPC is the mentorship session. As you can see behind me, various mentees get to interact with their mentors who are giants in various industries. This particular interaction is going to give opportunity to the youth to interact and learn on how to succeed and acquire knowledge in the world of business. Up with some of the mentors at the forum. The event also...
I think generally, if you think of the youth, a lot of people think we have a lot of unemployed people and they have nothing to do and we need to create jobs. I think as much as we want to create jobs for the youth, you want to create an environment that makes it easy for them to set up their own businesses with the right ideas. But if you have someone that wants to start a business with no support, or it's hard to get registration, it's hard to even know what you need to do to start the business in the first place, it's very tough. I think making information available publicly will be a great first start.
And that's it for business. The news continues after this break.
Education Minister Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh has directed a re-registration of all NGOs and CSOs in the education sector. The move, he says, should help assess those performing. Dr. Opoku-Prempeh at the National Education Sector Review Forum in Accra expressed his displeasure at the quality of education in the country's public schools, especially at the basic level, and blamed the Director General of the Ghana Education Service for some of the lapses.
We in the ministry are not going to rest till these things change. And we find out simply the reason. When I asked for what is the pupil standards in this country, we didn't have one. When I asked for a curriculum to address the pupil standards, I was given a draft. And when I asked for a system of assessment, I said, let's wait for TIMSS or PISA. What about the nation's own one? None exist. So if you don't have a pupil standard, you don't have a curriculum, and you don't have an assessment to justify your curriculum, some of us have been down in education for too long, but we seem to be doing the same thing over and over again. And we want better results. We are certainly not going to get better results till we change our ways. In response to this challenge, we are reviewing at least the pre-tertiary curricula to focus on the 4 R's: reading, writing, arithmetic, and creativity. We seek to focus the curriculum to ensure that by the time a child completes primary education in Ghana, at least 80% of them will be equipped with these fundamental skills. As demonstration of our commitment towards the goal, the ongoing work will define grade-level standards in numeracy and literacy and design a common assessment system to measure people's achievements against the set standard. This will enable the generation of data for remedial measures to be taken before people complete their primary cycle.
The Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Professor Kwesi Opoku-Amankwa, assured some measures will be put in place to address the challenge.
Yes, there are things that we've not done over the years, but we ourselves have realized that. And then there is also, for example, when you talk about supervision, now there is NIB, which is National Inspectorate Board. And this NIB, what they do is that they are taking care of the school inspections. They are also mandated to report to the minister and then also report to government as to what they are doing. So they want to have an independent eye looking at us, telling us that this is what we should have done, this is how you should do it, and things like that. And then we take it up and we do. And then, as I indicated, the leadership and management division that we're creating will now be taking up some of these queries and try to run with that.
Okay, but I just want you to address the totality of it, because the minister came hard on the GES, particularly you, the director, for some loopholes, data collection, the supervision you've mentioned, and other things. In general, what's your response, or is that the case? And what are you doing?
The response is simple. Okay. As I've indicated, I've told you the things that we are putting in place, and there are several. You know, there are several. For example, the research that he's talking about. Yet, it is true. When you speak to those on the field, and you want some data, they may give you something that may be different from what you have at your end. When you speak to 3 people, somebody in charge of IPPD, about number of teachers, yes, you may get different data from somebody with MS, you know. What we're doing now is to get a division that will be in charge of evaluation, planning, and research. When we get the leadership right, we get curriculum right, we get inspection right, we get teacher education right, we have our teaching learning materials in place. Obviously, the gaps will be closed.
Dr. Opoku Prempeh have wondered why, despite the many NGOs and CSOs operating in the education sector, many of their catchment areas are still recording bad grades and poorer outcomes.
With nearly 1,000 NGOs, CSOs, FBOs in education, and with such poor learning outcomes, we all have to examine our lives. %80 of NGOs and CSOs are into delivering, they call it quality or improved educational outcomes, quality education. Some have operated in areas for 20 years, 15 years. But in places where the NGOs are most active, probably that is where our achievement or learning outcomes is worse. I don't want to mention regions. We want to sit down with all NGOs and CSOs. We would use the avenue of GNEC to re-register all NGOs and find out what they are doing.
Country Director of NGO World Education, Susan Edu-Ayi, however, described as unfair the suggestion that NGOs in education have made very little impact on the sector.
I do not know the real reason for registration, because as somebody... Re-registration, because as somebody pointed out already, registration has gone on at the Registrar General and Social Welfare, and even with the GNEC, registration is ongoing, unless there are new processes that have been set for registration. I don't have a problem with it, because I know that we are working very well, and we never work without the ministry. Probably there are NGOs that are doing things that are not so good. It is up to the ministry to identify them, fish them out, and probably do what they want with them.
But do you think that is a target on the end?
Dr. Poku Prempeh is also proposing a review of the time basic schools close.
But school closes too early in this country. 2 o'clock, schools close. Where are the parents? Those on farms are not back from farms. Those doing public service are not back from work. Why can't schools close at 4? So we are talking to the regulatory body called NACA, National Council for Curriculum Assessment. They are in charge, I'm told, of the timetable, and they should begin to reason for the working Ghanaian.
A group of university-trained teachers who have been without jobs since they graduated on Tuesday hit the streets of Accra to protest government's failure to employ them. Those such teachers have in the past been absorbed into the public education sector. The protesters say they've been jobless since 2011. They eventually converged at the Education Ministry, where a deputy minister promised government would look into their concerns. Nancy Emefa Jiradozi has more.
The unemployed graduate teachers, numbering about 40, clad in red and black, converged at the Accra Heart of Folk Park to express their dissatisfaction with government.
We want to tell the whole world that there are teachers that have completed school since 2010, 2011, up to now.
School by the
universities. They have not recruited us. Meanwhile, there are vacancies. Research shows that there are about 35,000 vacancies that need to be recruited by teachers. But yet, nothing good is coming from the above.
They have find jobs for themselves. When we look currently into Ghana, we have more than 110 ministers, and even one of their salary can pay about 10 of the graduates who are demonstrating today. So what are they trying to tell us? Fine, if the system is choked, then why is it that there are vacancies in the various schools? If there are vacancies in the various schools, then definitely the senior minister cannot tell us that the system is choked.
There are all kinds of unemployed teachers on the streets who are professionals by training. They are professionals. But these politicians will go and employ all manner of YEA staff who are polluting the mind of our children. So we are out to safeguard the future of the Ghanaian student, and that is what we are doing now. So government has no option but to employ our members to teach in the government schools across the country.
Delivering the petition to the Deputy Minister of Education in charge of pre-tertiary, the group's president, Samuel Ejay, noted that his outfit had received numerous assurances from government to provide solutions to their problem.
We know there are other avenues in terms of job, but the basic is to teach. But then, time with that number, we have tried to get into the GES. We know the government is the one which employs majority of the teachers, and then it has not been successful. So we've sent petition upon petition to the ministry, and no response.
Unfortunately, Barbara Yisi, who received the petition on behalf of the minister, could not offer any more than the usual assurance that the issue would be looked into.
We have a backlog of students who are home, and day in, day out, we are thinking of what to do so that our young people could get jobs. But you need to give us some time to make sure we all sit, together and come to a compromise. I believe that the ministry is doing a lot to make sure that there's going to be some form of recruitment very soon. I know that in no time there's going to be some form of recruitment, but I will not be the best position. I'm sure that if the minister gets this petition, he will come out to speak on the issue. All that I want to say is let's have some patience, because I know that we have a backlog. It's going to take time to be able to make sure they employ all the, how many years? About 3 years backlog.
The group, however, says it intends to return to the ministry at the end of the month if government fails to honor its promise.
Up next, we bring you international news and, of course, the latest on the South Africa's president surviving a vote of no confidence, and in the Kenyan elections where counting is underway. Stay tuned. So the couple struggling to conceive for one reason or another and thinking the medically assisted procedures are way beyond their budgets, this should be welcome news. The Pentecost Hospital at Medina here in Accra has pioneered a cheaper in vitro fertilization procedure that will significantly enhance your chances of getting your own baby at a third of the current cost. The first fetus to be formed using the Belgian IVF technology was birthed at the hospital on Monday. Joy News' Maxwell Agbagba was at the theatre with a team of doctors and has come through with this report.
The patient monitor inside Theatre 2 of the Pentecost Hospital is beeping, an indication all is set for the grand delivery of the first baby using the Belgian IVF technology. About 7 medical personnel from the Pentecost Hospital have gathered around a bed. On the bed, a 35-year-old woman we choose to call Mami Akosia lies in a supine position. Mami Akosia, who has tubal blockages, has been trying to conceive for the past 8 years. But now, that movement that only played out in a mind's eye is happening. Outside the theater, some anxious nurses of the hospital are watching the cesarean section through a glass window. They cannot be blamed. It is the first time the hospital is trying this minimal cost of IVF. Outside the theater, I've met Nanaya Osei at the Fertility Center. Nanaya is the CEO of the Association of Childless Couples of Ghana. Nanaya's organization, which was formed in 2012, seeks to support married people who are childless. He has been telling me how he came into contact with the Belgian IVF technology that is helping couples at a lesser cost.
Decided to research into that. That led me to come across some Belgians who had developed a new method for doing the in vitro fertilization that brings down the price. Now, the key difference between the conventional method, which is being done by all the fertility centers in Ghana, apart from the Pentecost Hospital, has to do with the cost involved. But this method was developed using simplified equipment. Couples will pay not less than 18,000 Ghanaian cedis for the treatment. But with our method, we currently charge 6,000 cedis for the treatment. Now, there is one aspect also that has to do with what is known as the stimulation protocol. We, on our part, use what is known as mild stimulation protocol arrangement, where we do not give a lot of injections, we do not give a lot of drugs. The advantage with this also is that it prevents women from getting what is known as OHSS, ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, where sometimes you could have the ovaries of the woman getting swollen.
Back in the theater, as the medical personnel led by Dr. Gordon Atto continue to ensure a successful delivery. The much-awaited cry of a baby is here, and he is a boy. Doctor who led the team, Dr. Gordon Atto, retweets the science behind the IVF technology was not changed. The only distinguishing factors are the cost, which is a major deterrent, and the complicated process, which was eliminated. Dr. Atto believes with the introduction of this process, married people, irrespective of their socioeconomic status, will be able to afford in vitro fertilization.
Basically, the science is the same, but then we are being more efficient in terms of cutting costs. So we avoid wastage. We do minimal stimulation so that we don't use so much drugs. My desire is that IVF will become a part of the normal clinical setting in Ghana. In some jurisdictions, it's even sponsored by health insurance. But the things are so expensive. Everything is gotten from outside. And that makes it a bit more expensive for majority of couples to afford.
It's a saying that when you were born crying, and everybody around you was laughing. But live your life such that when you die, everybody will be crying whilst you would be laughing. This baby boy just gave true meaning to that. He's been crying since he was delivered here at the Pentecost Hospital. It is a beautiful world indeed, and he's welcome to our world.
Maxwell Agbagba put together that report. Now, health workers and patients at Ajina Health Center of the Swijamang district in the Eastern region continue to live dangerously due to snakes and scorpions attacks besides blackouts. The facility's control room caught fire a month ago, and workers have since not had access to electricity, making healthcare delivery quite difficult. Correspondent Kwame Yanka sends the following report.
Ajina Health Facility, which is a referral center serving other communities, has developed structural defects. Assemblyman for Ajina East Electoral Area, Hayford Abenyega, says a pregnant woman nearly died a few days ago due to the power situation.
The pregnant woman came here thinking she can deliver, but upon second thoughts, it can't be, so they have to refer her to VNRA. And because the vaccines too are not here, they have most of their vaccines at Sapo, which is about 15 kilometers from this facility. So they can't bring the vaccines and keep them here till the following day. So they have to refer the patient to VNRA. Because of the lights, the pregnant woman or the expectant mother has to be referred to VNRA. With all these conditions, our road network is very bad and no light for the midwife to help in delivery. And for that matter, the woman has to go through the hell of time reaching VNRA that night. And because of the road network, when you invite drivers to convey patients to VNRA in the night, they are not willing to go.
Nurses who depend on torchlights to work are forced to close the facility at 4 p.m. daily, limiting services to emergency cases instead of running a 24-hour service. The situation, according to some members of the community, could be salvaged by a high-capacity generator, which was donated by the NGO which built the facility 15 years ago. However, a battery for the generator is missing. Nurses can no longer use a sink meant for bathing babies due to electrical shock suffered. The nurses have also been warned not to use an incinerator built for the facility some years ago because it has not been commissioned, and thus afterbirth and other medical waste are burnt outside.
There's no electricity or running water in this facility. When you come in the evening, no one is here. So you have to return home with the illness that drove you to the hospital in the first place. There's no doctor here, so when you fall seriously sick, you have to go to VRA for assistance.
Meanwhile, Isyojaman District Chief Executive Samuel Ejokum is assuring medical personnel that work to restore power could be done by Tuesday.
We are faced with the problem of refixing the electricity. Yes, and I hope by Tuesday that will be done. They will be reconnected again. The electricians will work on it. Oh, it's clear, and now everything we do is dependent on electricity. So if there's such a facility without electricity, you can imagine the difficulty they are facing. That's why it's so urgent that they are reconnected. I mean, the work is done, and then they can work smoothly now.
Ajina community is hoping that power could be restored soon to save lives. Kwame Yanka's report for Joy News.
News Interaction. And that's it for the bulletin. My name is Israel. You have a good night. As she said, PM Express comes up next.
This is Joy News Prime.